Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Module 6. So today I'm going to be going over some assignments for this week. We are at Module 6, so only 3 more weeks of classes. So I know you guys are excited about that. So I'm going to go to Module 6, and we're going to look at our aims first. So what is it we're trying to learn this week? Well, this week we are concentrating on comprehension. So hopefully you will understand the process of comprehension strategies. There's different theories of comprehension. Implement a program of comprehension instruction, demonstrate knowledge of the nature and importance of text structure because text structure supports comprehension. Use questions and answers to enhance comprehension, and plan and implement a program of critical evaluative reading. So those are our aims. What will you be reading this week? There's actually quite a bit of reading this week. You're going to be reading chapters 8 and 9 of your textbook. And so both of them are on comprehension. Chapter 8 has to do more with theory and strategy. So there are a lot of good strategies in that book in chapter 8. And then chapter 9 has a more of an emphasis on nonfiction, and it talks about text structures and so forth. There are some great videos. The first one, I have some examples of teaching strategies. Thinking aloud, think alouds, and I want you to listen to those think aloud strategies and watch those if you need examples. So what are we doing? What are your 2 assignments? Well, the first strategy is related to the think aloud. You are going to do a video, read chapters 8 and 9, and based on your video and viewing this week, use a video tool to create a demonstration of you doing a think aloud while you're reading a book. So I want you to have a book, and I want you to show the book. I want you to stop, and I want you to demonstrate how you would do a think aloud. It should be evident what skill you're teaching as you demonstrate the think aloud. And there are some great videos to show you as an example. For if you were doing, maybe you wanted to know point of view, you would have to do a think aloud to model to your students the thinking processes that good readers do. Now, this is important. Do not tell me about it. Do not describe it. Actually do it. Implement it. You will not get full credit if you just tell me about it. I want you to model it. So that is what you'll be doing for your discussion post this week. Now, you guys have been doing well in your case study, and this week the case study is a little bit different because I don't have as much diagnostic data. And I did that a little purposefully because sometimes you don't have a lot of data to start with. So we have a 10th grade student, and so we've dealt a lot with younger kids. Now we're looking at a 10th grade student who reads fluently but has very little recall. So this student, I would assume that this student, has the decoding. They have those foundational skills. They can read fluently, but they're really, their grades in high school are not well in content areas like science and social studies, and this is due to comprehension. The student has potential to go to college, wants to play sports, is very validated by their sports, but just has a lot of difficulty with comprehension. Seems to not to be as motivated academically, but is very motivated in sports. The parents want to see their child play in college, but they also had problems in school. They support the student over all of his teachers, so that's something to think about too. So I've already had one person say, we don't have a lot of diagnostic data, and you're right. So you could actually put an intervention to get more diagnostic data if you wanted to, but I think we have a good start here. So we have a student, every week the goals and the SMART goals and the strategies align with what you're reading about. So we know that this student is struggling with comprehension. So where would you start? I want you to think about comprehension. You should also be thinking about motivation. I also want you to think about college and career readiness skills that the student is going to have. So it will be a little bit different than your other case studies because it's not as specific, but I think we have enough information for you to get started on it. So again, you have a case study. One thing I wanted to mention to you, in week 8, there is an assignment where you are to read this book called The Book Whisperer, and then you're going to be doing a double entry journal about the Book Whisperer. I wanted to remind you of that because I don't want anybody to say, I didn't know. If you have not gotten this book, you need to get it. And you don't have to read it all in week 8. You can start reading it now. I will put the link to the double entry journal in this announcement so that if you want to start on that, you can. It is a very easy read. It's the purpose of this book is I wanted to end with, how do you get kids to like reading? How do you make sure that your students are reading books that they enjoy? And this is The Book Whisperer, Awakening the Inner Reader in Every Child. So don't forget about that. I'd like to now talk to you a little bit about some of the content from this chapter because there is a lots to read with this chapter. So let me get started with that. And I'm going to start with talking to you about, here we go. Okay. So just to get you started here, thinking about comprehension. So what is comprehension? Well, one definition is it's the construction of meaning of written text through a reciprocal change of ideas. And so there has to be interaction for comprehension to happen between the message, the student, the reader, the message in the text. There has to be some kind of interaction. That's why I like to do a lot of written responses, because that is the interaction or discussion to comprehend. Some of the fundamentals of comprehension and reading. Each reader brings a unique competencies and background knowledge. That's important. The text. It is so important that you pick high quality text. Text can be printed, electronic form. That text will help you to convey and to teach the topics that you want to teach. The activity and related tasks. This involves the purpose for reading. So you have to tell the student as you're teaching, what is the purpose for reading? Is it to find text evidence? Is it to discuss perspective? And then what are the outcomes? That's important. And lastly, the context. This consists of larger social and cultural context in which reading occurs. And so that context many times can influence comprehension. So research shows that weak word skills contribute to weak comprehension. So why do you think so? So at the beginning of this class, we talked about those foundational skills, and students have to have those foundational skills in order to comprehend. It's so important. Reading researchers believe that information is stored in long-term structures, prior knowledge. So prior knowledge is a big part of comprehension. What do they do? Well, good readers are purposeful, so they know what they're reading for. They know the purpose of their reading. They're actively engaged through thinking, writing, responding. They're strategic. So if I am reading a text about how to reset my Wi-Fi, I'm going to have to go step by step and be very careful. I'm very strategic. Where other things I can scan, and they're flexible. So good readers are flexible. They know what strategies they can use and what they should, and they can switch back and forth. So this is something I always like to teach students about good readers and poor readers when they think about comprehension. Good readers, they take responsibility for constructing meaning. Poor readers, really, they just want to get the word right. Good readers develop lots of strategies. Poor readers don't have as many strategies. Good readers are very strategic. They monitor their comprehension. You probably have had students that have read something or they have decoded it, and then they go back and they can't tell you anything that they've read. When students ask me questions, I know that they're comprehending because they're asking questions. I worry when students don't ask questions because that shows that they have not comprehended enough to even ask the questions. Asking questions is actually one of the best comprehension strategies that you can use. Have your students ask questions. And successful readers are confident, they are effective, they see themselves as the agent to help them read. And they also see the result of hard work and efficient thinking. And poor readers, us many times will feel like, I didn't get it because the teacher doesn't like me or there's some kind of bias. So that's something to consider. A couple of other things that I want to talk to you about is I want to go over really quick the Common Core standards. Now, all of you may be using the Common Core standards. If you're not using the Common Core standards, even Florida has similar types of standards. So when you think about reading in Florida, or if you're using Common Core or even Florida Best Standards, the standards for comprehension, you have literary standards, and then you have standards for informational text. And so those literary standards are divided into, when we think about comprehension, key ideas and details. And I'm going to go to first grade. We have key ideas, but all of these are the same through kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So you have key ideas and details. So can the student ask and answer questions, retell story events, characters? You have craft and structure, integration of knowledge and ideas, and then range of reading and level of complex text. So those 4 key subcomponents are the same in kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So you have literary comprehension standards, and then you have comprehension standards for informational text, key ideas and details, craft and structure, integration of knowledge and ideas, and range. So those 4 are the same, but the actual standards are a little bit different because if you're reading an informational book, these comprehension standards are going to be different than if you are reading a literary text. And one thing that is unique about the Common Core standard is those standards are exactly the same. They spiral up in complexity. So I wanted to show you an example of that here. Okay, so here we have, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger for you. Reading standards for informational text. I'm doing K through 5, but this goes all the way up to 12th grade. So we know that key ideas and details, this is going to be for RI, that's going to be reading informational. So in kindergarten, we want the students to ask and answer questions about key details. First grade, now that's going to get a little bit more complex. Ask and answer questions about key details in a text. So in kindergarten, the kids need prompting and support. In first grade, they're going to answer the questions on their own. In second grade, ask and answer questions about who, what, where, when, why, and how. So it's getting a little bit more complex. Go up to third grade, ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text, referring explicitly to the text as a basis for the answer. Now we're getting into text evidence. Fourth grade. So I just wanted you to see that these standards spiral up in complexity and they go all the way up to 12th grade. So I want you to think about something. When you think about differentiation, sometimes you can differentiate if you are working on asking and answering questions to demonstrate understanding of the text. If the students can't do the fourth grade standard, maybe they could do the third grade. That's another way that you're scaffolding and you're offering differentiation. So that's important. So wherever you're teaching, you need to know what are comprehension, um, what are my standards. So I want to show you now, and this is something that I wanted to show you because where I live, everybody uses Accelerated Reader. Accelerated Reader is a computer program in which you take a test, you read a book, and then there are quizzes that students can be quizzed on about that assignment. Students are supposed to be reading at their Lexile level. So I pulled up this report from What Works Clearinghouse, and What Works Clearinghouse, if you're not familiar, I'll put that in the announcement today. It is a website that you can go in, you can put in programs and interventions, and that'll tell you what does the research say. So I wanted to show you this because I often, and I work with undergrads a lot, and undergrads will say to me, well, my comprehension strategy is kids are using Accelerated Reader. Accelerated Reader is not a comprehension strategy. It does assess comprehension, but it's not a strategy. So I wanted to show you what it has. So in this report, we can see it tells what Accelerated Reader is, and it shows us that there have been some studies. I'm going to talk to you about those studies. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. So What Works Clearinghouse identified 11 studies that investigated the effects of Accelerated Reader on reading skills of beginning readers. There was an additional 60 studies, but they did not meet the What Works Clearinghouse eligibility because they did not meet the research requirements. So they reviewed 11 studies, but of those 11, only 2 use randomized controlled trials, which is the gold standard of research. And that's what Works Clearinghouse used. So of all of these studies, only 2 met the research requirements. So what did those 2 say? There were 2 groups and a summary. Let me go down here and show you the summary of those 2. In the 2 studies that reported findings, the estimated impact of the intervention on outcomes in comprehension domain were 1, a statistically significant positive effect, and 2, a substantively important negative effect. So on comprehension, you had 1 study of all of these that's positive and 1 that is negative. So that's mixed results. So I wanted you to see this because often I have students that will talk about Accelerated Reader, and I just wanted you to see what the research showed. The other thing I wanted you to see is another great website that you can look at, and this has by John Hattie. John Hattie has done research, and he has published a book called Visible Learning, where he does a synthesis of over 800 meta-analyses relating to school achievement. And so this has a lot of the different studies, and what he does is he ranks them according to effectiveness. So when you look at research effectiveness, anything above a 0.5 is going to be pretty strong. Anything above a 1 is extremely strong. So we can see that in this research, collective teacher efficacy is the most important thing. That is when teachers believe and when they are highly effective, and as a group, they have that knowledge and skill set. They have the efficacy where they say, yeah, if I'm teaching, the kids are going to achieve. And when you have a lot of teachers collectively doing that, that's just, the effect size is 1.57. So I'm showing you this because he does have some strategies. So one summarization has a 0.79 effect size, which is very strong. So we know that summarizing is a good comprehension strategy. Classroom discussion, 0.82. Students being able to discuss, very high for that. Um, let's see, strategy to integrate with prior knowledge, 0.93. So when you are helping students to integrate their prior knowledge, that's going to help. A jigsaw method, that's another way of another comprehension strategy, very strong strategy at 1.28. And so I want you to see when you go down, going all the way down here, uh, that does have, oh, it has about computer programs. I think that was about 0.43. So I wanted you to see this so that you would know of the strategies that you the comprehension strategies that you use, what ones do research say works? Computer programs, there's a lot of research that shows it's not impactful, but yet we're putting our kids on these Chromebooks for extended periods of time. And the research just does not back it up. What the research shows is there has to be an interaction between the reader and the text. That occurs by doing activities where you're discussing, where you're doing think alouds, where you're doing jigsaws, not putting kids on a Chromebook and expecting them to somehow be able to understand the text that way. So this week you have 2 assignments. On your discussion board, you need to demonstrate a think aloud with a text. It could be even a paragraph, okay, or a page in a book, but you're going to model that think aloud. It should be very evident what the comprehension is that you're trying to teach. Then you have a case study. And as I said, I know the case study this week, the data is not as diagnostic. So if you wanted to, you could explain in the beginning that you might do more diagnostic assessments to further refine your future SMART goals. So that's all I have for this week. I hope you do well. You've been doing well in all your case studies, and have a good week. Thank you.